Zinedine Zidane is one of the greatest footballers to ever live. Zidane's combination of natural talent, finesse, timing, understanding of the game was totally unmatched, and it led him on to win a Ballon d'Or, World Cup, Champions League, voted as men's best player of the year on 3 different occasions, and a stat that's often used to highlight just how incredibly intelligent and ahead of everybody he was on the football pitch was the fact that Zidane was never once caught offside. Zidane's ability to read the game was so far ahead of everybody else on the pitch that the linesman never once had to raise their flag. And look, anybody who knows anything about football just knows how insanely crazy that is. For a player who was so heavily involved in the creative aspect of his teams, to never once be caught offside is absolutely ludicrous. But you see, unfortunately, this is actually just a myth. Zidane was caught offside in his career, on a couple occasions actually. See for yourself.
ترتد إلى رونالدو زيدان، هل هناك راية؟ نعم، تسلل. هدف يعني لا أقول غير محتسب لأن الهجمة مقطوعة أصلا بالتسلل على زيدان.
Now this doesn't make Zidane any less of a player. He still was this phenomenal genius, a magician on the pitch who could read the game better than anybody else. But this stat just seemingly sort of came out of nowhere and it's stuck in the football community. And in fact, you'll be surprised how many stats and facts like this seem to just stick around when they're not necessarily true. For instance, when Ronaldo returned to Manchester United in the summer of 2021, many people expected it to be the crowning moment in the Manchester United story arc, the catalyst for United to finally start winning trophies again, and now that didn't quite happen, as we all know, but the board definitely would have expected some commercial success to come with Ronaldo if it wasn't going to come on the pitch, and that they certainly received. Ronaldo is the most famous person on the planet. Manchester United has the biggest fan base on the planet. Naturally, he was always going to break shirt sale records, and that he also did. The revenue Ronaldo would have generated from his shirt sales very much would have been able to cover the £30 million fee paid to Juventus, along with any of his other massive wages. But again, the reality is that's actually not the case. Many fans don't realize that manufacturers actually pocket about 90 to 95% of all shirt sales. There's a small chance that the revenue generated for that would go anywhere near covering his fees along with his wages. You see, the way most kit deals work is that manufacturers will offer clubs large sums of money, typically upfront on a yearly basis, and in return they have the rights and the licenses to make and sell shirts globally. Clubs benefit by being able to receive these large chunks of money upfront, providing for stable income as well as a more simple financial process. And the manufacturers who actually sell the kits often believe that they'll be able to sell more kits and generate more revenue than what they are paying the clubs on a yearly basis. A win-win for both sides. And in the case of Ronaldo's return, Adidas, Man United's kit manufacturer, most definitely would have been able to sell more shirts than they could have even imagined back when they initially signed a deal in 2014. And so believe it or not, when you hear pundits and fans alike talking about how players can make up for their wages and their transfer fees by selling shirts, a lot of the time this isn't plausible whatsoever for players. Now don't get me wrong, Ronaldo definitely was able to bring commercial success to Manchester United in other ways by generating other sponsorship deals and whatnot, but in terms of his shirt sales, the Glazers and the United board won't be touching much money from that whatsoever. Now anyone who knows about Roy Keane knows how much of a ruthless player he was on the pitch. Even if you didn't get to watch him play football on the pitch, just watch some of his punditry. He's just as ruthless now on TV as he was back on a football pitch. And one of the days where his ruthlessness came to fruition was in April 2001 in the Manchester derby. Roy Keane went in for an infamously excruciating tackle on Haalands' right knee. And what made it even worse is that he actually later admitted that he did it with purpose, with the intention to hurt Haaland. And like, guys, I mean, it was really bad. Like, take a look for yourself. This is one of the worst tackles I think I've ever seen. And so when Haaland retired a couple of years later in 2003, it became common knowledge in football that Roy Keane's tackle was the catalyst for ending Haaland's career. And yes, this was many years ago, but funny enough, it still does have a big impact on today. Recently, when Haaland, the son of Alfinch, was linked to Manchester United, many fans said, "Oh, Haaland would never come to United because Roy Keane ended his dad's career, so he hates United. Also, United are rubbish anyway, so why would he ever come?" Okay, maybe that last bit was a bit too over the top, but You get the point. Many people believe that Roy Keane ended Alf-Inge Haaland's career, but this is also a myth. You see, what most people don't actually know about that day back in 2001 was the fact that after Roy Keane was sent off for that excruciating tackle, Alf-Inge actually continued to play the game. And in fact, he continued to play many games in the weeks after that as well. Now, Alf-Inge Haaland did have knee problems that led to him having to put his career to an end. What people critically miss out in the details was that it was in his left knee, not the right knee that Roy Keane tried to do serious damage to. And this is something that Alf-Inge has actually spoken about as well in recent years, at the fact that Roy's tackle didn't really have much of an influence in how his career panned out. And so as much as I'm sure Roy Keane very much wanted to end Haaland's career, he did not play a part in doing that one bit. This one's one of my personal favorites. There's a good chance as a football fan that you've heard somebody say a defender is too slow to play in a high line, whether that be a pundit on TV, one of your friends, maybe you yourself have used this excuse. But the reality is this actually isn't very true. There are plenty of examples in football history of defenders who are not known for being quick, but play in high lines successfully. The likes of Joel Matip, PK, John Terry at times in his career are the ones that come to mind. A lot of the situations in which people think it's about pace, it's actually just about being able to keep play in front of you as a defender and stop your opponent from being able to get off a decent shot. And your ability to keep play in front of you as a defender isn't actually linked with how quick you are. So what is linked with it, you may ask? From an individual standpoint, as a defender, your timing, concentration, anticipation, and positioning are all far more important in your ability to keep the play in front of you rather than behind you. And from a team perspective, if your team's defensive structure is solid as a defender, there's a good chance you will not struggle to play in a high line, even if you are slow. As long as your team is horizontally compact, vertically compact, and always has pressure on the ball, there's not going to be many instances where the ball is even played in behind of you anyway, putting you at risk. I feel like this is one of them myths that's become incredibly popular due to games like FIFA and Football Manager, where you can't actually guarantee that your team is going to be horizontally, vertically compact, as well as always having pressure on the ball. And individually, defenders with slow pace just aren't very good in them games, are they? Let's be real. So next time you see a defender who is slow, struggling in a high line, look for some of those other things instead of wondering about whether or not their pace is the reason why they struggle.